I take pleasure. I can live in her mind rent-free every day. But we all know exactly what she's doing. Like I just said, she's educating the worst of the worst. How do we invade law enforcement?
All right, the situation between the Trump administration and AOC has been getting rather interesting. Now, just to catch you up to speed, AOC has been giving these seminars on how to deal with ICE agents, and the Trump administration has been questioning what these seminars are all about.
And we need to challenge them. So don't let them intimidate you into thinking that you're doing something wrong by telling people what their actual legal constitutional rights are. There's nothing wrong about it, and there's nothing illegal about it. And if they want to make it illegal, they can come take me. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, so now that you're all caught up, Tom Homan is finally responding to what AOC had to say. Check this out.
When we first did one of these seminars, Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections. And he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me.
Come for me, she said.
I take pleasure. I can live in her mind rent-free every day. But we all know exactly what she's doing. Like I just said, she's educating the worst of the worst. How do we invade law enforcement? But the tables have now turned. She's educating people how to get prosecuted. Because you have a final order, it is illegal to not comply with that order. It's a crime to take steps to not comply with ICE removal orders or not comply with ICE actions take you in custody. You can't hinder your own removal that was ordered by the federal judge. I would like AOC to read Title 8, United States Code 1253, because it's starting tomorrow.
So as you can see, Tom Homan is all fired up. Now, we will get to the rest of that clip later in the video, but I hope you caught what he said. It is illegal to hinder your own court order to leave the country as an illegal immigrant if you already have a court order to leave the country by a federal judge.
Federal law allows for even broader and speedy removal than has been used in the past. And expedited removal, as you talked about, allows for summary removal. That means no entitlement even to a hearing, possibly within 24 hours. It hasn't been used as broadly as, say, the Trump administration might want to use it. But under the statute, it is permissible to remove aliens who arrive at the border and even those who have been here for 2 years, although that 2-year provision you talked about is the lesser used in practice.
Well, that completely breaks the narrative of due process and illegal immigrants. And this is why Tom Homan is getting so frustrated with people like AOC, where in these seminars, AOC is talking about your legal rights as an illegal immigrant, but the Trump administration is arguing, hold on, they were told they have to leave the country, they have to leave, what more legal rights do they have?
But just because it isn't used very often doesn't mean it's not a part of federal law that can be used. And it will be used because it's permitted under federal law. The Congress, in its infinite wisdom, decided that aliens who arrive at the border, and they define people who arrive at the border as people who have even been here 2 years, if they have fraudulent documents, if they don't have sufficient documents, they can be removed in an expedited fashion unless they seek asylum. So you don't run into those due process concerns, at least presumably because that statute, as it exists today, is still valid. Now, that's not what's at stake with the Venezuelans and the Alien Enemies Act. But the government's argument is that, hey, court, listen, you're telling us we need to provide notice. Well, take a look at this federal law. It says that we don't even need to have a hearing. It can happen within 24 hours. So if that's good enough for people who arrive here who are aliens, it's certainly okay for people that the president has deemed to be alien enemies.
So as you can see, this is where AOC can get into some trouble if she's helping and advising illegal immigrants who already have fraudulent paperwork or illegal immigrants who were already ordered to leave the country via a federal judge. We will get to that in a second, but first we have one of the coolest sponsors ever because of you guys. All right, this video is sponsored by 1775 Coffee Company. Now, you've heard the hype. Maybe you've seen the new launches sell out, but if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee yet, this is your shot because they've just launched their 1775 starter kit, and the first drop is limited to just 1,000 units. Look, this starter kit isn't some dinky sampler pack. It's a full-on pack of caffeine freedom. You have a bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, a smooth medium roast for strength without bitterness, and Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy, laser focus, and zero crash. All single origin, small batch, mold free, and toxin free. Plus you're also getting this. A gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler that says I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. Look, you can get $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. So, go to 1775coffee.com/T-SPLY like you see on the screen and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe.
Do you anticipate other arrests of other judges across the country who are pulling these shenanigans by sneaking them out the back, Jack?
I think some sanctuary cities, you're going to see more judges make a very bad decision. I've said from day one, you cannot support ICE. You can support sanctuary cities all you want. But if you cross that line of impediment, which is a felony, if you cross that line of knowingly harboring, concealing illegal alien from ICE, that's a felony. We're going to ask the DOJ to prosecute. I'm not a prosecutor, but we're certainly going to ask for those prosecutions. You know, the Democrats said forever, no one's above the law. No one's above the law. But they want a different set of rules for illegal aliens. You said it in your monologue. The whole zero tolerance thing, right? They didn't want families separated when a parent was prosecuted. Kids can't go to jail with parents. But as a cop, when I started my career, I separated U.S. citizen families all the time when a U.S. citizen parent went to jail.
Now, just to give you guys a little context, this is very important. We have to remember that AOC falls under the jurisdiction of New York State and New York City, which means she falls under the protection of sanctuary laws.
New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today. As you know, we sued Illinois, and New York didn't listen. So now you're next. Millions of illegal aliens with violent records have flooded into our communities, bringing violence and deadly drugs with them. And if you don't comply with federal law, we will hold you accountable. We did it to Illinois. Strike one. Strike two is New York. And if you are a state not complying with federal law, you're next. Get ready.
So as you can see, this is why AOC seems to be rather confident or not too afraid of the Trump administration, because she has some protections from the sanctuary laws, whether New York State or New York City. However, let me show you how intense these sanctuary city laws are, by the way.
These people are in the country illegally, and the first thing the police commissioner did up there, she's ordered an internal affairs investigation on it. Did someone call ICE? Because we happen to be at the precinct where some of these people were being processed by happenstance, but all of a sudden now there's an internal affairs investigation. Who called ICE? These people are illegal in the country. We just proved to the commissioner, we proved to the city council that wants to lock us out of Rikers Island, that working with Mayor Adams, we just got done 2 weeks ago, indicted 27 members of TDA through a RICO investigation. 21 are currently in custody. We're looking for 6. These are people who are murder for hire, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, gun trafficking. We took 27 TDA off the street. ICE with the cooperation of NYPD. We showed what our partnership can do, and they're already pulling back now because the commissioner is more concerned with who called ICE than working with ICE to get these people not off the street, out of the country. And like I say, the city council, the same day we're up there bragging about 27 TDA taking off the street, making New York safer, they sue Mayor Adams to keep us out of Rikers Island. So I'll be going to New York tomorrow. This is just another example of sanctuary cities not cooperating with ICE, and look what happened. NYPD officers are attacked. If you're brazen enough to attack an armed law enforcement officer, you're much more dangerous to an unarmed civilian.
So as you can see, this is why the Trump administration also has a very big problem with AOC helping out illegal immigrants, because local law enforcement can hardly do anything about an illegal immigrant unless they commit a criminal offense. When it comes to civil offenses, police officers cannot deport illegal immigrants, and even if police officers want to work with ICE agents, it looks like they get in trouble. Not only in New York City, but also up north in places like Rochester. But let's continue.
You went after Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for hosting a webinar for immigrants called Know Your Rights with ICE. I want to play what you said.
Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now.
Are you suggesting that she should be prosecuted?
Now, just to give you some quick context, what you're watching is a response from Tom Homan all the way back at the beginning of 2025 when Donald Trump started his presidency and started the deportations.
I'm suggesting, and I'd ask the Department of Justice, where's that line on impediment, right? It's a broad statute. So I know impeding with someone stopping in front of me and putting their hands on my chest so you're not coming in here and arrest that guy, that's clearly impeding. But at where's the line on impeding? So I'm asking the Department of Justice, who are the prosecutors, and decide who they prosecute and what the standards of that prosecution is. I simply says, at what point is that impeding? Because you can call it know your rights all you want. We all know what the bottom line is. The bottom line is how they invade law enforcement. Don't open your door. Don't answer questions. Here's what we're talking about.
Now, this is where the media can get very disgusting and very ugly. We have to remember, this is the first time we were seeing deportations like this on a mass scale. Now, I know President Obama, he did deport a lot of people, but on a public, massive scale. And ICE agents, their hands were not tied behind their back under the Obama administration, whereas this is why Tom Homan was trying to figure out, is AOC, is she impeding or obstructing? However, the media was turning this into the most evil thing ever, and that ICE, they are trying to enter into our homes and trying to deport all of us.
She said that she is just offering civil education and that you might be, quote, vaguely familiar with the U.S. immigration law, but that she's just doing what she needs to do to remind people the law of the land passed by congressional statute.
Vaguely aware of immigration law. I've done this since 1984. I forgot more about the immigration law than AOC will ever know. Matter of fact, the hearing a couple years ago, I had explained to her that entering the country illegally was actually a crime. So, you know, I'm not going to play that game with her. I simply made a statement. When you sit down with people who are wanted by us, criminal aliens that have been ordered deported from the United States government, and ignore that order, if you and I ignored that order, we'd be sitting in prison. But they ignored an order from a federal judge. They're hiding in a home, and she's telling them not to open the door. Now, I'm not saying that's illegal. What I'm saying is, I asked the Attorney General, at what point is it impeding and what point is it not impeding? So I'm simply, as a board is asking the Office of the Attorney General, where does it draw the line? So we make sure we give ICE agents the proper standard when they go to these homes. They don't open the door. At what point can you open the door? At what point can't you open the door?
Now, things are a lot different because back then AOC was doing what most Democrats were doing, opposing Donald Trump, and the deportations are bad. However, AOC has a lot more momentum than pretty much any other Democrat when it comes to any policy.
They need to reach out to younger Americans, and they need to reach out in an authentic way. I think that what makes AOC effective is not only that she's younger, but that she comes off authentic without saying, I'm trying to kick the older crowd aside, because it was very important. She did that tour with 83-year-old Bernie Sanders, while some of the younger members of Congress saying the old guard needs to retire. She's showing a balance and a maturity as a young person and a message that penetrates. And by the way,
I know it could be hard to believe, but AOC right now probably has the most momentum in the Democrat Party as far as some sort of future role or possibly becoming a senator in New York State. However, even MSNBC acknowledges AOC is not always best for branding because Republicans tend to use her to show everybody how outspoken she is, especially when it comes to immigration policies.
each other doing things.
Democrats don't know what to do with her because she is so exciting. She draws big crowds, and yet they worry that Republicans use her successfully as a boogie woman.
Yeah.
She's the Green New Deal. She's a
or.
leftist
Just
from
like
New
Nancy
York and all
Pelosi.
that.
I don't think it's either or. I think she's incredibly talented, but there's a lot of room to look at a lot of people over the coming months. And, yes, of course, it's always good to appeal to young people, but they are not the most dependable voters. You need someone who appeals to all people, including Republicans.
So there you go. The saga continues between AOC and Tom Homan. Now, do we really think AOC is going to be arrested? I think if the DOJ wanted to, they could pursue something after AOC. However, the DOJ right now, it looks like they are highly focused on the state of New York and New York City especially. So again, I don't think she'll be arrested. However, you never know what could happen, even according to Tom Homan. Thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you go check out our sponsor. They have the best coffee ever. Thank you guys for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later.